problem is not simply climate denial. The problem is also that people don't really realize this problem is affecting them because they never hear about it in the media. Anytime you talk about hurricanes in our current world, you need to add climate change because climate change is affecting the hurricanes that we're seeing today. In one report on a major news outlet's webpage, the reporter listed 5 reasons that Hurricane Florence was particularly intense, including the speed at which it strengthened from tropical storm into hurricane, the amount of water it was going to dump on land, the strength of the storm surge, and in not one of these reasons did this reporter mention the fact that all of these effects are being supercharged by climate change. This farmer in Oregon, he was a rancher, and he couldn't water his cattle on his ranch because of the ongoing drought in the West, and so he was trucking in 18,000 gallons of water a day to ranch his cattle. And not only did they not connect the drought to climate change, they did nothing to discuss the carbon footprint of having to truck in water to feed these cows. And then they mentioned the mudslides in Japan that displaced, I think it was 3 million people from their homes. 3 million people is the population of Barcelona. Can you imagine Barcelona empty? Again, they did not mention climate change, even though we know that every sea of warming raises the amount of moisture in the atmosphere by anywhere between 4 and 7%. So again, every day we hear stories that are in fact about climate change, but the media is silent on the links, and they need to stop being silent when they write about immigration, when they write about drought, when they write about heat waves, when they write about fires, when they write about changing real estate values, when they write about the insurance markets. All of these things have to do with climate change. To me, this seems like a dereliction of duty. It seems irresponsible and dangerous. The science shows us that these things are linked to climate change. And we know that the climate change we're seeing now is only going to get unimaginably worse if we do not transition our energy system to safe energy immediately. You can make the argument that the media needs to do this because a free democratic press needs to be reality-based. But you can also make the argument that they have a moral obligation to do this so that people can make the political decisions they need to make in a democracy and decide whether we want to continue using the kind of energy that is going to cause death and destruction on ever greater scales, or whether we want to today to transform ourselves and start implementing the new, clean, safe energy future that will power America's economy and power America's future.
People are being killed. There's people who are suffering and dying and have been killed in the past. And not by some random accident or by some act of God, but by the deliberate choices of other people to profit deliberately while lying about the consequences of their pollution and their profit from their pollution. They knew this in the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, and their response was to systematically corrupt our entire system of democracy. People are now dead because of that. And people can't care about global warming pollution if our political leaders and media aren't talking about it. Since we need to address the pollution of our climate and we need to stop it, we need to have the people in charge talking about it. And it's really that simple.
In your mind, what does it look like when a journalist has done a good job of covering climate truth instead of being climate silent?
We would like reporters simply to say that climate change is exacerbating the effects of these storms. 1 or 2 sentences, it's not that hard. It's easy. There are organizations out there that can partner with journalists who are not necessarily science journalists to explain to them what the science is and tell them how to do it. And that's part of what we want them to do when they're talking about climate truth.